want you to relax and to be easy as you listen to some of the things I've got to say. Open yourself up and let it in. I've been plagued with what I'm told is a preposterous picture of a pompous person, namely, that I'm perfectly right and the rest of the world is positively pontificating poopheads and are wrong. For all practical purposes, they're wrong, and then, well, this is what I want to talk about. I get angry. So what's the steps of anger, I was thinking, when I was pontificating? First I thought, well, that what happens at the beginning is that I get a perception of how things ought to be. What needs to happen to make things be right in our world or in my house or wherever. Second is how things should be according to my own views, my perceptions. And the third, here's the big one, who's at fault? Well, these days you could say it's the Republicans or it's the Democrats, and now even it's men and it's women. So polarization, one side against another, it makes it easier when you want to fight or have an argument with somebody when you know that you're standing on a positive position and you're right and everybody else isn't. The next thing is, what needs to happen is I start to, at that moment, give myself advice and judgment. It ought to be this way, it should have been that way. So with a lot of advice and a lot of judgment, what happens is sometimes I hold that in silence, other times I boom it out like I'm standing on a rooftop shouting to the world. But the end result is that I usually feel frustrated. It doesn't go anywhere other than I just turn it inside. Those feelings get deeper, stronger, bigger, and blacker, and I get more and more angry. So those feelings build up inside. And my feeling about what ought to happen is to no avail. I'm then, in that sense, frustrated. So I try to convince others, is my next step, how brilliant I am in my viewpoint and the way I see the world. So I'm going out and I'm going to try to proselytize and get others to believe what I believe is right. When that doesn't work well, because most of the time that stuff doesn't really work well, I swallow those feelings down. And what happens to feelings that are swallowed down is that they turn into, well, depression. Think about this. Anger outward is aggression. Anger turned inwards is depression. Anger out is aggression. Anger in is depression. So I end up with internalized rage, that is to say sandbagging, where I start to walk around with a clear view of why things aren't the way they should be, and frustrated and walking around and looking at other people as if they are the ones that are responsible, or that group is responsible, or that individual particularly and all of her friends and his friends are responsible. So with the internalized rage and the sandbagging, what happens is, like I said, depression or aggression. So what's the solution to this? The solution is pretty simple. Talk about what you feel when you first feel it. Be aware of your own needs, your own views, your own values, what you think ought to happen, and then the next thing to do is to talk about it with somebody else. Talk about it with the idea that they may not get it, and therefore you need to work real hard, not at convincing, but explaining your own views, and not in a way that you've got your finger in their face, but in a way that has got your hand open to new ideas and better communication. Remember, when tempted to fight fire with fire, firemen usually use water. Well, you've heard it. There's the information. There's the ideas. Think about what you can do with it. You might want to even write it down for the next time that something like that comes up, that you can do something different and find an even better way to be even more you. Here's some information, some tips that can be useful for you to use. Roots of anger. Write down the name of 3 people that you feel cause you to feel anger. Write down 3 situations that you're involved in that cause you to feel anger. Anger is about a frustrated need. Now look at that list, write down the frustrated need that each one reflects. Consolidate these sentences into an action plan. Make a plan to meet with, talk with, or visit with that individual or individuals or organizations that you feel are at the root of that anger. Approach them with calm and polite and direct action. Make an appointment. It's important to listen and reflect before you take action. I hope the issue that you've been dealing with is clear, more clear now, and perhaps even resolved. But whatever the case is, you may know that time is on your side. Things will get better, it just happens that way. And also understand that if you want more, look us up on the website. I'm there, waiting for you. And I'm Dr. Barry Goodfield.